You can't hide. You can't hide what and who you are. You can't hide anything about you.
Pastor Bob Joyce has been arrested for identity fraud, leaving his followers stunned and his reputation shattered. People are now questioning everything they thought they knew about him, wondering if they were all deceived. Could it be that he's not who he claims to be? Let us uncover his true identity, which will change American culture for the rest of our lives. The pastor who looks like the king. Who is this guy? Pastor Bob Joyce isn't some flashy celebrity preacher. He's a pretty low-key Christian pastor, spending his time talking about faith, hope, and redemption. He runs a small church, tends to his local congregation, and probably thought he'd go on doing just that. Until, that is, the internet got involved. Before we delve into this, it's clear that what's beneath Pastor Bob's quiet life is far more shocking than anyone could have expected. And this won't be the last surprise awaiting you. He never aimed to be famous outside his church walls. He wasn't trying to go viral, but the internet had other plans. He happens to look a lot, and I mean a lot, like Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. It's more than just a passing resemblance. The hair, the eyes, even his voice are enough to make you do a double take. This was more than enough for some hardcore fans to go full conspiracy mode, suggesting that he was, in fact, Elvis in hiding. It's like they just couldn't let the king rest. Some people have never come to terms with Elvis being dead. They refuse to believe it, and over the years, theories about him faking his death have popped up again and again. From living quietly somewhere in the countryside to joining the CIA, there's no shortage of Elvis lives fantasies. And lately, Bob has become the latest target for these theories. For those who really want to believe, the idea is all too perfect. He has the face, the voice, and even the mannerisms, or at least, that's what the conspiracy crowd says. It's almost like he's the king of rock and roll, hiding in plain sight, having swapped the mic for the pulpit. If you ask them, they'll tell you that Elvis didn't die in 1977, he just got tired of the fame and decided to reinvent himself as a pastor. The fact that there's zero real evidence connecting Elvis's life to his past doesn't seem to matter. As long as people keep repeating it, some start to think it must be true. It was inevitable, really. With people convinced Pastor Bob was secretly the king, things quickly spiraled out of control. Why stop at a simple theory when you can turn it into a crime? That's exactly what happened. Someone decided that if Bob was pretending to be Elvis, then surely there was some shady business behind it. And just like that, the word fraud started making the rounds. The internet works in strange ways, or maybe it's just chaotic. Either way, the rumors gained traction, and soon enough, people were saying Pastor Bob got arrested for identity fraud. Arrested. It's important to note that to this day, there's not one shred of real evidence to back this up. No mugshots, no police reports, nothing. But that didn't stop the rumor from spreading. It was too good of a story. A pastor, Elvis Presley, crime, identity fraud. It's like a tabloid headline come to life. And of course, the more people talked about it, the more real it seemed to become. People started spinning their own narratives. If he wasn't who he claimed, then naturally, he had to be doing something illegal. The supposed arrest just fit the story. It was the cherry on top of a completely made-up cake. If there's one thing the internet loves, it's a juicy rumor. The fact that it doesn't have to be true, even better. Once people got a hold of the Elvis theory, it didn't take long for things to escalate. What started as a fun, albeit weird resemblance, became a full-blown conspiracy. And with that conspiracy came the added drama, crime, deception, and even an arrest. Social media and online forums played their parts well. Some people wanted to laugh about it, others wanted to prove it was real, and a few took it as a sign they were discovering some hidden truth. Conspiracy theories don't need evidence, they thrive on speculation. They grow by filling in the blanks, making connections that aren't really there. The more people talked, the more Pastor Bob, the humble pastor from a small-town church, turned into a figure shrouded in problems and fraud. With each new story about Pastor Bob's life, reality seemed to slip further away. Even as he tried to stay focused, the rumors only grew louder. When the internet won't let go. It's a classic case of the internet making a mountain out of a molehill, and poor Pastor Bob was stuck at the center of it all. What started as some people seeing a resemblance turned into something he could never have imagined. And the internet doesn't let things go easily, especially when a good conspiracy is involved. For Pastor Bob, all this must have felt like stepping into an alternate universe. He was just doing what he always did, leading his community, giving his sermons, when suddenly, he was the subject of a bizarre internet obsession. And while some people would have leaned into the attention, maybe even tried to profit off of it, that's not him. He kept a low profile. He's addressed the Elvis rumors here and there, but only to say what should be obvious. No, he is not Elvis Presley. He's Bob Joyce, and he's not hiding behind any fake identity. But he's also smart enough to know that engaging too much would only make things worse. There's no winning when the conspiracy crowd is involved. The more you deny, the more they're convinced you're covering something up. Despite everything, Bob kept on with his work. He didn't let the rumors derail him or make him lose focus on what mattered. It takes a lot of patience to stay calm when people are turning your life into some kind of fantasy story, but he did it. His focus remained on the people who actually knew him, his church, his community, not on the strangers on the internet. It's worth asking, why do people even believe this stuff? Why would anyone think a small-town pastor could be Elvis, or that he'd get arrested for pretending to be someone else? The answer lies in what people want to believe. For some, the idea that Elvis is still out there, just living a quiet life as a pastor, is more comforting than the truth, that he died, like everyone does eventually. It's human nature to want to believe in the extraordinary, to find hidden connections where none exist. And the internet makes it so much easier to do that. With forums, YouTube videos, and social media groups, people who want to believe in something, no matter how wild, can find others to back them up. It creates a community where everyone agrees to ignore the facts and buy into the fiction. People love thinking they're part of something hidden, that they're in the know. And a story like Pastor Bob's supposed arrest? It's irresistible for those who want to feel like they're uncovering something the rest of the world is too blind to see. The whole situation also speaks volumes about our obsession with celebrity. Elvis Presley was more than just a singer. He was a symbol, an icon, and losing him left a mark on his fans. For some, the thought of him being gone forever is just too hard to accept. Pastor Bob, with his uncanny resemblance, became a way for them to keep their idol alive. This isn't just about Elvis, though. It's about how we see celebrities in general. We want them to be larger than life, almost mythical, and when they die, we're not ready to let them go. The internet has made it easier than ever to create these myths, to take a real person and turn them into a story we want to believe. Unfortunately for Pastor Bob, he got caught up in that need. For him, it's probably a surreal experience. Imagine just trying to preach and help your community, only to have thousands of strangers on the internet turn you into a reincarnation of one of the most famous people who ever lived. It's as if the internet decided to write its own story about his life, with no regard for the truth. Let's be crystal clear here. Pastor Bob says he is not Elvis Presley. He claims he wasn't arrested for identity fraud, and there's no other life being hidden behind those church walls. According to him, the resemblance is just that, a coincidence. A striking one, sure, but still just a coincidence. The wild stories about Pastor Bob's real identity kept growing stronger, pulling him into an unwanted spotlight. The tale of a pastor's fake fame. The identity fraud allegations are entirely made up, a natural, if absurd, progression of the internet's obsession with him. There's nothing in his past to suggest he's anything other than what he says he is, a pastor devoted to his faith and community. But in the world of online conspiracy theories, facts aren't as fun as fantasies, and people tend to run with whatever story makes them feel like they've got the inside scoop. For Pastor Bob, all this probably just feels like a huge distraction. He's not interested in the spotlight, and certainly not in this kind of twisted fame. To him, the Elvis rumor is nothing but a nuisance, a strange twist that he never asked for, and definitely doesn't need. Pastor Bob's story, from Elvis lookalike to alleged fraudster, might seem entertaining, but it points to bigger problems. It shows how easily misinformation can spread, especially when the internet is involved. People see something they want to believe, they find others who agree, and before you know it, a whole narrative has taken shape, completely detached from reality. For Pastor Joyce, this has been an example of how even a quiet life can be upended by forces beyond your control. The internet took a harmless coincidence, a resemblance to a famous figure, and ran with it until he was turned into a character in a bizarre conspiracy theory. The real tragedy here is that he is a good man, just trying to do good work, and yet he's been turned into the main character in a story he never wanted to be a part of. The enduring obsession with Elvis Presley is not something to be taken lightly. He was more than a pop culture figure. He symbolized an entire generation. When he died in 1977, many of his fans simply could not accept that their hero was gone. They started crafting theories about his supposed survival almost immediately. Fake sightings were reported, and alleged clues were left in songs and photographs. His death has been dissected, debated, and denied for decades. To these fans, Elvis could never die. He simply moved into hiding. Pastor Bob became a part of this saga through no intention of his own. All he did was look and sound like the king, and that was enough for the believers to latch on. Conspiracy theorists are not interested in ordinary details. They want the extraordinary. They see his sermons as performances, his voice as evidence, and his appearance as undeniable proof. It doesn't help that he is a singer too, sometimes incorporating music into his sermons. For those willing to believe, this was just more confirmation. The idea that the king might have chosen to live a quiet life away from the spotlight is appealing for many reasons. For one, it suggests that even the most famous people can get tired of fame. It also implies that heroes never really leave us. They're just waiting for the right moment to reappear. For a pastor like Bob, whose whole life revolves around hope and faith, being painted as this pop legend is both bizarre and tragic. He's not the hero they're looking for, but they refuse to accept that. There is something about the human mind that struggles to accept coincidences. We are pattern-seeking creatures. We want to find meaning in everything, even if there's none to be found. Bob and his resemblance to a music legend is a perfect example of this. If the internet hadn't gotten involved, he might have been just another pastor who happened to look like a famous person. But the internet never lets anything be that simple. The theories started small, with people noticing the physical similarities. Then, videos of him preaching found their way to fan groups, where people began dissecting every word he spoke, every song he sang. Before long, they were convinced that he wasn't just a look-alike, he was the real deal. The human need to create connections is powerful, and in this case, it turned a simple resemblance into an elaborate web of fiction. What made things worse was the fact that he didn't really fight back against these theories. He denied them, but not in the way that made people feel satisfied. He didn't go on a media tour to refute the claims or hire a lawyer to threaten lawsuits. He simply said he wasn't the rock legend and went on with his work. For conspiracy theorists, this kind of calm denial is often seen as confirmation. The less you fight back, the more they believe you're hiding something. And for a man of faith like him, fighting rumors aggressively would only have made the situation worse. Pastor Bob's life had become a strange internet story, where facts didn't seem to matter anymore. The real impact of online rumors. The real question is, why do we refuse to accept coincidences? Why must everything have an underlying truth or hidden layer? The internet has created a space where any theory, no matter how wild, can find an audience. And when that audience is as passionate as the Elvis Lives crowd, there is no room for mundane explanations. Everything is a clue, everything is a sign. It doesn't matter if the man in question is just a pastor with a good voice and an unfortunate resemblance to a rock legend. It might be easy to laugh off these conspiracy theories as harmless fun, but there is a darker side to it. Pastor Bob Joyce has been harassed, his church has been flooded with curious fans, and his peaceful life has been disrupted. Conspiracy theories have real-life consequences, even when they seem innocent. In Joyce's case, what started as some online chatter has turned into an ongoing ordeal. His ministry has been overshadowed by the claims, and he has had to spend time addressing the nonsense rather than focusing on his community. Imagine waking up one day to find out that thousands of people believe you are secretly someone else, and not just any someone, but a cultural icon. For Joyce, this wasn't some fun internet joke. It became a burden. People showed up at his church, not to hear his sermons, but to try and catch him slipping up. They wanted to see if he would reveal himself. It turned his place of worship into something of a sideshow, a spectacle rather than a sanctuary. The worst part is that, no matter what he says, there will always be those who refuse to believe him. The internet is not a place that forgets easily. The videos are still out there, the comments still spreading. For Pastor Joyce, this might be something he has to live with for a long time. It's a reminder that internet fame is not always welcome, and once the rumor mill starts, it's almost impossible to make it stop. This story also highlights the importance of critical thinking. It's easy to get caught up in a good story, to want to believe in something extraordinary. But it's crucial to remember that not everything we see online is true. Pastor Bob Joyce is not the king. He's not a fraudster or a man living a double life. He's a pastor who got caught up in a conspiracy that took on a life of its own. For those who still believe, no amount of denial will ever be enough. But for the rest of us, it's a reminder to be careful about what we believe, to think critically, and to remember that behind every internet rumor is a real person, someone who might just want to live their life in peace. The saga of Pastor Bob Joyce and the identity fraud rumors surrounding him is a strange and twisted tale of internet culture gone wrong. It's a story about celebrity obsession, about the power of coincidence, and about how quickly a rumor can spiral out of control. Joyce, through no fault of his own, became the center of a conspiracy that has refused to die down. His resemblance to this music legend might have been enough to get people talking, but it was the internet that turned it into something much bigger. From innocent speculation to accusations of fraud, the story grew and grew until it was almost unrecognizable. And through it all, Pastor Joyce has managed to keep his head held high, to continue his work, and to maintain his dignity. Is Pastor Bob Joyce a misunderstood man of faith, or is he hiding a shocking double life? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.